My name's Joshua French and this is chapter 2 of the Forgotten Game video book. This chapter is called Doubts and Difficulties because in chapter 1 I explained that the Forgotten Game was merely enjoying every moment as it comes, finding a way to at least accept it and then enjoy it. And it seems very simplistic and lots of people will have questions arising about this, and I'm trying to anticipate those questions and answer them in a satisfactory way. So, there's 6 main questions I've come up with. First one. Oh, so it's that easy, is it? Well, what if I'm in a bad mood? Because I tell you something, if I'm in a bad mood, I find it really hard to get myself happy, to get myself enjoying life. So, how do I play this forgotten game when I'm in a really bad mood? Well, the key thing is to realise that there's nothing wrong with being in a bad mood. This is just where you are at this moment, and it's part of the human experience, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So the first thing to enjoy is the feeling of relief you get when you say, hey, this is okay, I don't need to change anything, this is fine. Just kind of observe it, just watch it. And I would say that every stick has 2 ends, and what I mean by that is that every seemingly negative emotion is very similar in vibration to an actually quite seemingly positive one. For example, anger is very similar to a kind of dynamic, forceful and powerful presence. And lethargy is very similar in vibration to a sort of relaxation and gentle and kind of coziness. So if you just slightly shift your perspective and don't judge things so much, you can kind of ride the wave of the emotions. And I've done other videos about this and call it going on the emotional roller coaster and riding it. Because really there's nothing you can do about any moment, but if you resist what's happening in the moment, say this is wrong, then you suffer. But if you, and also, as well as suffering, you kind of hold on to what's happening and it lasts for longer. Whereas if you just accept it, then you'll find that a good mood can flow in much more easily, because it does come and go. It's like the sea, it's like a turbulent sea, and things change. Now an example is, let's say there's someone in a messy house and they've got a job to do, they've got some writing to do, and they're tapping away on their computer and the inspiration's not coming and they're in a bad mood and they look around and the house is all messy, and by the end of the day they haven't done any work that they're pleased with, and the house is still a mess, and they just feel really guilty and fed up and miserable. Now they were ignoring the impulses. When they were feeling fidgety and they were tapping away at their computer and they hadn't got any inspiration, it was time to do something else. And a wave of energy might have taken them around to do a little bit of tidying up. Make a cup of tea. Feeling a bit refreshed, they come and sit back down and get a little bit of work done. And then afterwards, another impulse of energy comes and they follow that, because they're not attached to, today I must sit and work all day. They're just going with, at each moment, what feels right, what feels most free. And by the end of the day, because they've got themselves in a happier place and they're enjoying life more, it's gone much more freely, the house is more tidy, and the inspiration started to come and they got some good work done. And then they got the whole evening to go and do something else, go to the cinema and enjoy the day. So that is my answer to the question, what do I do if I'm in a bad mood? Accept it and gently shift your perspective of the bad mood so that it becomes a good mood. Or rather, accept it, shift your perspective of it, and watch as by itself it flows by and the good mood flows in. Next question. Okay, what if I'm stuck? What if I'm stuck in a bad relationship, or if I'm stuck in a job that I hate? How can I play the game in that situation? Because I don't want to be in that situation. So I'm not going to enjoy it. How do I get out of that one? Well, just remember that when you're in one situation and you're looking over there and thinking, I don't like this, I'm stuck in it, I want to be over there, then it seems like an overwhelming task. But you're not asked with the forgotten game to achieve an overwhelming task. All you're ever asked to do is just make the decision, take the responsibility to enjoy this moment. This moment. So you're walking into work. Instead of, I hate going here, I hate going here, I hope I don't see him, I hope I don't see him, I really don't want to be here. Oh. Instead of that going on in your mind, you walk in, oh, birds. Oh, it's warmer in here. Hello. Enjoy that moment of talking to someone. Enjoy the coziness inside the office. Enjoy the feeling of movement as you walk towards the lift. Get in the lift. Enjoy the pressing the button. It's quite shiny in here. All that sort of thing. I know it sounds so simple, but when you start to get yourself habitually in a better vibration, I've said this before, but what happens is intuition and inspiration starts to flow about what you could do to make your life better. What would be more fun? What would be more playful? What would be more enjoyable? What would be more freeing? And if you're stuck in a situation and there's a light at the end of the tunnel because you've had this inspiration about how to get out of it, that situation doesn't feel so trapped. You only feel trapped because you can't see a way out. So get yourself in a good place and then watch as inspiration or intuition, very similar really, give you some guidance. And it won't be hard. When you're in a good place, it won't be hard to follow your intuition because it will feel good. And when you follow that, things will start to work out. Now, my situation of this is I was trapped. I was trapped a few years ago in a job and I really didn't enjoy it. And it was about the time I started to learn about how focusing on your happiness and tuning into a higher vibration could really create your own reality. And my intuition was telling me, get out of that job. And all these people around me were saying, no, the economic situation in Britain is really bad. Stay in the job. And I was going to go travelling the year after. My partner said, no, just one more year, just stay in the job. You can get through it. And I was thinking, no, I don't want to. So I had to just stop listening to other people and focus on my own intuition and leave. And I had a few weeks of uneasiness about money, but I kept telling myself it's going to be all right, this felt right, it feels right now, and it all sorted out, and I felt freer. I had just as much money coming in. I was doing lots of different jobs that I found more enjoyable, and I had all this creative time to work on my own projects, my videos, my websites, and all those sorts of things, and my life has got consistently better and better and better since then. So really, it's well worth doing. Playing the forgotten game, that is. Another question. Right, but I want to be successful, and I'm just a bit worried that if I just try and accept where I am now and just enjoy where I am now, then I'm going to lose my motivation and I will stop pushing for what I really want. And I really want that. So I don't want to lose my motivation. So my question basically is, will I? Will I stop being successful if I start playing this game? And the answer is no. If you love where you are and enjoy where you are, and you're playing the game of life, the impulse to keep going forward and finding better things and finding ways to be a better person and arranging all the details of your life in a way that will be even more enthralling for you. That impulse is still there, but the difference is you're not pushing yourself forward because you are unhappy with your life and you're trying to fill up the void of unhappiness by organising the outer circumstances. No, you're already happy, you love where you are, and the journey towards even better things is a playful, fun, adventurous one. There's a song by Rodriguez, and I'm going to insert a clip of it here if I can. So I'll just leave a few moments for that.
Yeah, I slip away, and you can keep your symbols of success. Then I pursue my own happiness, and you can...
While that was playing, the door blew open, so I just went to shut it. And another thing, when you get happy, when you enjoy life, you become magnetic to other people. So if success is really important to you, you may find that the way people respond to you when you are joyfully being yourself and following your bliss, you may find that a lot more opportunities open up than had been before. And they're opportunities that make you really happy because they have opened up in response to you just being yourself. The playful, wonderful, happy self that you were born as when you came into life knowing that life was a game. Okay, so next question. It is, I think you're forgetting that there's some really horrific things in life. You know, what if you are in a war zone? What if you are in a drought? What if you're being tortured? You can't just gloss over all this with, oh, just be happy, enjoy the game of life. There is no way that anyone can be happy in those situations. So, in those situations, they can't play the game. So my question is, how can you argue back about that? Now, I've had a few emails about this before, and people have said this to me before. And the example that comes up for me is Life is Beautiful, which is a film, and the story is that a man is in a concentration camp with his son. And the man, all through the first half of the film, he's a very playful, wonderful, he's got this happy perspective on life, and things generally seem to work out for him. But then he finds himself in this situation where he's in a concentration camp. And he refuses to be brought down by this for the sake of his son. He continues to pretend to his son that this is just a game. And by the end of the film, I won't tell you the end, but the point is that the son was shielded by... not shielded. The son was still joyous at the end of the film. And the man had shown by his example that it was possible to, in whatever situation, even the most horrific you can imagine, it was possible to reframe your perspective and take responsibility for whether you see things negatively or positively. And that is really, I can't remember the name of the person who said this, but there was a true story of a Holocaust survivor who said something to the effect of, we can all, the only thing they can't take away from us is the way we choose to perceive life, or something like that. And what are we afraid of? Now I know that the awful atrocities that happen in the world, I know that they're unacceptable. But the worst thing I guess we're afraid of is death. And I've watched videos recently about end-of-life experiences or near-death experiences and things like that. And you know, that just consolidated things for me, because even before watching that, I'm just not afraid of death. And I've told my parents this. I've told them, you know, should I die, I just want you to really know that I don't believe in it. In terms of what you see here, Joshua French is just a three-dimensional manifestation of my whole being. And the whole being that you can't see does not die. You know, I heard a metaphor once that I really liked about life was like you go into a cinema and you choose which screen you go on. And it works for video games as well. You go into a big video arcade, and choose which game you're going to go on, and then you're in that game. And you get into it and you start to forget it's a game, and you get really engrossed in the game, and then you come out of the game. It was alright, it was only a game. I think I'll play that one now. So I have no worries about death, and many of us, subconsciously, these fears of death are what keep us unhappy, because we're trying to do something like earn enough money, or be successful enough, or be a master at a particular art form enough to balance the fact that we feel like our life is meaningless because we're going to die. Our life is meaningless in a way because it's just a game, but it's not something to be upset about or scared about. So we could just gently tell ourselves thoughts about death to try and reframe our perspective on it. You know, I'm not so sure that death is a bad thing, and I think I do believe there's part of me that will continue, and stuff like that, and just gently try and get ourselves out of those thoughts, because that really is a trap of suffering if we deeply believe that death is a bad thing. So it's something to work on. And about the atrocities, yes, the world, it could certainly in lots of ways be more compassionate and have less torture, less suffering, less injustice. But how do we change that? Do we change that by joining the protest and putting more anger in the mix? Can we solve problems at the same level of energy of the problems? Or could there be another way of changing the world? By focusing on our bliss, by starting to radiate the joy, the utter bliss of realizing that this isn't real, this is a game, and I love living in this world, and that will radiate, and that will influence the people around us, and so we are like a beacon of how to be. Now that influences the world. That brings the whole vibration of the world up. So that's how I think the forgotten game is not only a good thing to remember on a personal level, but it's also helping the whole world. So that leads into the next question. Isn't it really selfish to focus on your own happiness more than anything else? When you're playing the forgotten game, you're just thinking about what can I find to make me happy. Isn't that selfish? Yes, it is. And there's a quote, Howard Thurman, I think, and he says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." I think that's it. So that leads on from the last thing I was saying about changing the world. But I think a lot of us suffer because we're trying to help someone else, or we're sympathising with someone else's problems, being a shoulder to cry on for them, and then thinking, well, if I do this, then that will make him unhappy, and my parents are expecting this of me, and I've got to do this for my kids, and all these things, and we're trying to please everyone, and ignoring our own intuition, ignoring our own inspiration, so we end up very unhappy. Whereas if we just get rid of all of that, and just enjoy where we are, and find ways to enjoy it, we connect with a much more clear and compassionate beingness. What I mean is that we are innately good people. When we do things that are not so nice, It's because we are, for some reason or other, disconnected with our true being, and when we're not listening to our true inspiration. I think when we're happy, we reconnect with our innate goodness, and we don't complain, we don't bitch, we don't nag, we don't try and be better than someone else, we don't try and get revenge on someone, because it's not fun, it doesn't feel good. When we start to live life for joy, then we do the right thing. We are a positive influence in the world. I really believe that. And a final question. All right, so I've got children. So it's very easy for you to say, when you haven't got children, focus on your happiness and enjoy life and play the game of life. But when you've got children, you've got to think about them. You're not the center of your universe anymore. You're basically providing them. You've got responsibilities, providing them with security. So what do I do about that? How do I play the forgotten game if I've got children? Just think about the sort of example you want to set them. Because if you want them to look at you as a parent and think, that parent believes that money and my education is more important than their happiness, then that's what they're going to take on as their life lesson, and they'll go on, and then when they're adults, they will continue to believe that other things are more important than their own happiness, than following their bliss, than using their true strengths to do things they love. Wouldn't it be nicer that right from the start of from their lives, they looked to you and could see that you were enjoying life, and that was your priority, and that they loved you and that you loved them, but at the same time you cared about your own joy, and that when you did, things seemed to just work out, and when they didn't for a while, it was fine, because they would work out later, because the intuition always seemed to come, or the inspiration always seemed to come, and there always seemed to be a way to make things work. And then when they went into life as adults, they were much more confident about following their instincts and following their bliss, because they'd seen you do it, and they lived this fulfilling, satisfied, wonderful life. So that's my answer to that one. Okay, so that was chapter 2, yes. Next we have chapter 3, which is about the benefits of playing the forgotten game. Kind of mentioned a lot of them already, but we'll go over them in a bit more clarity.